People in Hollywood are very angry today because they've been supposed to be dating for years. Hugh is no longer pretending that Reynolds' bullying is just friendly banter. He's now telling everyone around him about how Ryan has been, terrorizing them, from makeup artists to co-stars to directors. And it turns out Ryan's bad behavior isn't just limited to Hugh. He's been throwing tantrums, making career-ending threats, and showing his true colors behind the scenes while keeping up his nice guy image. So what did Ryan do that was so horrible that Hugh finally decided to speak out? Could this be the final nail in the coffin for Reynolds' career after the Blake Lively disaster? Let's get into it. Let's get straight to the nastiest part of this whole situation. News from Fox News is shocking because it shows Ryan Reynolds thinks he can fire people whenever they don't do what he says. Reynolds once threatened to end a makeup artist's entire career because they weren't available for some reshoots. As the insider revealed, Ryan Reynolds threatened to fire the makeup artist off the rest of the film, and the reshoot they had to do, and also said, "If you don't come back and do my makeup, you will never work in Hollywood again." If you ask me, this is straight up career blackmail. His makeup artist was literally out of the country working on another project, which is normal for people in the business to do, and Reynolds acted like they were insulting him by having a life outside of serving him. What's worse, the studio? Executives couldn't do anything about it. A source confirmed that Fox executives were angry, but they had to give in because Reynolds had already taken full control of the movie. It's clear that this person is insecure because someone who is truly confident doesn't need to threaten other people's jobs to feel important. But guys, this toxic pattern didn't start recently. It seems to have been Ryan's MMO for years now. Hugh Jackman, who had to work closely with Reynolds on Deadpool and Wolverine, has reportedly been the target of this kind of controlling behavior throughout their professional relationship. While Hugh initially played along with Reynolds' fake Feud story for the cameras, sources close to him say he's done with his antics behind the scenes. One insider said that Jackman is going to be deposed in the ongoing lawsuit between Blake Lively and Justin Baldwin, which has Reynolds nervously looking over his shoulder. Hugh will be deposed if this goes to trial. There is no way he can't. This is huge because Hugh knows where all the bodies are buried, so to speak, because he's been with Ryan for years and might now be legally required to tell the truth about what he's seen, which is why Ryan is sweating. According to rumors, Ryan Reynolds didn't just control makeup artists, he also reportedly kicked a director out of the Deadpool franchise. The director in question was Tim Miller, whose work on the first movie made Reynolds famous again, but he didn't come back for the second one because Reynolds wanted full creative control. Miller later admitted that it was clear Reynolds wanted to be in charge of the franchise, which is fine for a director, but not for me. Reynolds was such a pain to work with that the director of the first movie would rather walk away from a successful franchise than deal with Ryan's ego for another movie. That's not just a difference in style, that's a red flag about someone's character. This is where things get messy. We've already established that Ryan now has full creative control of Deadpool, right? He can basically do and say whatever he wants. And chances are people are going to just roll with it. Well, apparently fans have spotted something interesting about the niece character. You know, the nicer version of Deadpool is this overreaching "you be the judge." But either way, this is where Hugh Jackman gets dragged into the mess as Wolverine he had to stand by, while Reynolds used their movie as a personal vendetta platform. If the nice pool character was meant to mock Baldwin, then it's safe to say that everyone on set knew it, so Hugh was forced to participate in what was essentially workplace bullying disguised as comedy, and sources close to Jackman say he was deeply uncomfortable with this, especially since he himself had no beef with Baldwin. But because Reynolds had taken full control of the movie, Hugh had no choice but to go along with it or risk being iced out himself. But if you think Reynolds only terrorizes people behind the camera, think again. His co-stars have been getting the same toxic treatment for years. Take Marina Baccarin, who played the female lead in the first Deadpool movie. Notice how she was basically sidelined. In the sequel, apparently, that wasn't a coincidence. Instead of handling a creative difference like a professional, Reynolds decided to completely erase her from the promotional materials. Someone close.
But I think after he got super famous from the first Deadpool, then things kind of changed. I think he was like, see, you guys see? And then I think I don't know. I mean, would I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him
That
again.
much vitriol.
Described a particularly humiliating incident. Ryan would belittle him in front of the entire crew, making it clear that TJ was just a side character and not important. He was like, "Yo, you know what's great about you, Weasel? You're not the star, but you do just enough exposition that it's funny, and then we can leave and get back to the real movie." This is classic bullying behavior.
And I think it's weird that he hates me. And
Well,
I think some people...
You know he hates
We
you.
had a really weird moment on Deadpool where he said, let's do one more take. And I was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me. But to me.
He uses his position of power to put others down and make them feel small, and for what to feed his own ego to show dominance either way. It's super toxic. Hugh Jackman probably witnessed this pattern of behavior firsthand. And while he initially remained quiet about it, publicly sources say he's been increasingly uncomfortable with how Reynolds treats their colleagues, the fact that Hugh is maintaining relationships with many industry professionals, while Reynolds keeps burning bridges. Speaks volumes. Speaking of burned bridges, let's talk about Jake Gyllenhaal, another former best friend who apparently can't stand Ryan Reynolds anymore. These two used to be inseparable, doing interviews together and acting like they were the best of buddies. But something dramatic happened. And now, Jake won't even talk about Ryan, apparently, during a recent interview where he was asked about Reynolds. Gyllenhaal acted kind of icy. And when pressed further about their friendship, Jake shut it down completely. This is not normal behavior between friends or even ex-friend. The whole situation probably stems from their time working together on the 2017 film Life After That project. Their friendship mysteriously disintegrated, and a lot of people believe it's because Jake saw Ryan's true colors during filming and decided he wanted nothing to do with him. Another actress from that same movie, Rebecca Ferguson, has spoken about having a terrible experience with an unnamed co-star who was, quote, insecure and angry, and all signs point to Reynolds.
I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star. And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out.
The situation got so bad that Ferguson refused to even act with this person anymore.
This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, you call yourself an actor, this is what I have to work with, what is this? And I would cry walking off set. The next day I walked on and I said, you get off my set. You can F off. I'm going to work towards a tennis ball. I never want to see you again. I was so scared. I feel...
While Ferguson never named names, the timeline and cast list make it pretty obvious who she was talking about. And Hugh Jackman, having now worked extensively with Reynolds, has likely witnessed similar behavior firsthand. Remember that cringy promotional skit for It Ends With Us that had nothing to do with the actual movie? Hugh was roped into that mess and forced to play along with Reynolds' mean-spirited mockery of Baldoni. In the clip, Hugh delivered lines that were clearly meant to bully Baldwin.
No. It's not every day a guy gets to interview the love interest of his best friend's wife, and the guy trying to replace Ryan as a husband and me as his best mate.
Holy shit.
I've never done an interview before, but I've done a lot of things, like crazy things in Australia. You do understand you can't even get into preschool unless you take a person's life with your own bare hands. Twice.
Totally.
So listen, I've just got one question. What the hell are you doing messing with my best buddy's wife?
This put Hugh in an extremely uncomfortable position. He was essentially being used as a weapon in Reynolds' personal vendetta against Baylon, all while a movie about domestic being overshadowed by childish Hollywood drama. And to make matters worse, Hugh was also pressured to attend the It Ends With Us premiere, a movie he had nothing to do with, just to show support for Reynolds and Lively. And while this was happening, Baldwin was reportedly being kept in the basement and forced to arrive. Early to avoid interaction with the Reynolds-Lively camp, Hugh was unwittingly made complicit in this power play, and sources say he deeply regrets his involvement. This brings us to the straw that broke the camel's back, which is that Hugh just learned he might be deposed in the legal battle. This puts Hugh in an impossible position. Either he tells the truth about Reynolds' behavior and publicly ends their friendship, or he lies under oath to protect Ryan, and obviously neither option is appealing, and Hugh is reportedly furious that Reynolds' actions have put him in this situation. What's become increasingly clear is that the charming, funny Ryan Reynolds we see in interviews is just a carefully crafted persona, because behind the scenes he's reportedly insecure, controlling, and vindictive. Even his ex-wife Scarlett Johansson has hinted at this, while she's always been classy about their split. She has described him as passive, aggressively jealous, and his other ex Alanis. Morrissey had similar things to say after their breakup. She released an entire album inspired by their relationship, with the lyrics to her song You Ought to Know being particularly telling. If I just say it's true, I'm unbelievably insecure, really. Broken, devastated, then I can move through it. Notice a pattern. The word insecure keeps coming up from people who know Reynolds intimately, and that insecurity manifests as controlling behavior and bullying. Reynolds seems to target people who might overshadow him. His marriage to Scarlett Johansson apparently fell apart as her career was skyrocketing, and he quickly moved on to Blake Lively, who at the time was still establishing herself in serious film roles after Gossip Girl, hence she wasn't really a threat to him and his ego. This same pattern also shows up in his professional relationships. And now, as Hugh Jackman prepares to potentially testify about Reynolds' behavior, Hollywood is holding its breath. This comes at a particularly bad time for Ryan, as his wife Blake Lively is already embroiled in her own PR nightmare with the Baldwin lawsuit. What's interesting is that both Blake and Ryan are facing similar accusations, being controlling, difficult to work with, and manipulative. Behind the scenes while maintaining perfect public images. As one insider put it, they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle. But guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle. The couple's carefully curated image as Hollywood's perfect pair is crumbling on multiple fronts. Hugh Jackman, meanwhile, is moving on with his life. Following his separation from his wife of 27 years, he's been dating his Broadway co-star Sutton Foster. Though some have questioned whether this relationship is real or another Hollywood PR move, what's clear is that Hugh is no longer interested in playing along with Reynolds' games. The bromance that once delighted fans has revealed itself to be toxic and one-sided, with Hugh finally seeing Ryan for who he really is. It looks like Ryan Reynolds' days of bullying coworkers and controlling sets might finally be coming to an end, with Hugh Jackman potentially spilling the tea under oath and more co-stars speaking out about their negative experiences. The nice guy facade is crumbling fast. What do you think about these findings? Are you Team Hugh or Team Ryan? Drop your ideas in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more. Hollywood Tea, this drama is far from over, and we'll be here with all the updates.